folks, it's Pecktec. I'm back again, and I'm going to do a 3-month update on the BiOrb Air. So people often ask me, when's a great time to do an update on a project that you've done on the internet? And my answer is, as soon as it starts looking perfect. And that's where we're at today. The BiOrb has been going for about 3 months with next to no intervention from me, and it's simply looking very splendid. There are a couple of things I'm unsure about, just because working with a terrarium is quite a bit different from working with an aquarium. For one, it's about 1,000,000 times easier to keep. The other thing too to note is that I don't have any pets inside of here. I do have some living creatures that makes it a bioactive terrarium. I've got isopods. I put some dairy cow isopods in there. For the most part, they kind of disappeared into there, and I only rarely will see one scurrying around every now and then. I also put springtails in. They're really good for doing things like eating mold and other detritus that kind of builds up in a natural environment like this. I'm by no means an expert in terms of terrestrial plants. This project's been kind of new to me, although I've been experimenting with different things. Kind of taking plants out of the aquarium and putting them into different scenarios. I've been doing that for the past couple of years, and this is sort of the apex of that. I got a few plants that have done really well in other enclosures and things that I've tried to do, and I experimented with some new ones. I think I might have overdone it with a few of these plants, and I'm not sure if they're going to outgrow the area, and I'm not sure how I'm going to trim it. But right now, everything's awesome. With the exception of the moss that I put in here, I put some pillow moss in different parts, and some of it's not doing as well as I'd like. But with the exception of that, every plant that I put in here has kind of found a little niche and is growing it really well. This dragon's tongue in particular, I think I'm going to have to thin out because it seems to be taking over inside of here. It's really filling up and kind of taking up all the space. The creeping fig's been really interesting to see how it kind of runs around, and it'll sort of run in circles around this thing, and that's pretty neat. And of course the ferns are really cool. It seems like my orchids are starting to get enveloped a little bit, and they're starting to kind of disappear into there. I might need to move those or just kind of thin out that dragon's tongue a little bit, but it's filled in great. And it's a really, really neat little slice of nature. I think things like this fit in really well with my aquariums too. The aquariums overall are very green, and with this it's a little bit easier to put little, especially with the nerve plants and stuff, to add little pops of color inside. Just for fun, I added a couple of little fairy figurines. Just as kind of a little whimsical ornament to put in there, as if this is their little home that I'm keeping them in. So this has a lid with a bunch of the smart components in it, which includes a mister and a light. Now the light ramps up and down on its own. It's got a little one-button thing that you can use to program when that activity starts. But it runs on a 10-hour cycle, and then it kind of peaks and then it goes back down. So you have kind of sun up and sunset simulation going on, and it's not an extreme. You'll notice if you happen to notice it ramping down, you can see it, and it just gets a little bit dimmer and a little bit dimmer, and then finally off. As far as the mister, it's got a built-in sensor in there that determines if the humidity isn't optimal, and it'll just automatically start misting. I was very skeptical of this, especially in the summer. It gets quite humid here in Tennessee, and it never came on. I noticed that I never saw it come on at all. And now that it's the winter time and we've got the artificial heat on and stuff, and it's actually kind of dry in the house, I'll see it come on quite often. In fact, almost any time I open the lid and it sort of changes the humidity inside of there, it'll come on. Or if I've let the water get a little lower. It has a little water gauge on the side, and really the maintenance that I've done, you saw what I did to put this together. Or if you haven't, there'll be a link to that video at the end of this video. But aside from that, all I've really done is add water to it. So I've got a desktop RO unit. It's called an AquaBear. I did a video on that as well. And I take it out, and I'll just kind of add water into the top of this. All the water that's stored below here gets wicked up through this little carpet that it came with, and then that goes into the dirt and it just evenly distributes through here. It seems to work really well. Another thing that's inside the lid that makes it a little bit smarter than your average terrarium is this is a fan. It's like a little muffin fan, a little small computer fan, if you will. I find this fan to be extremely quiet. I never notice that it's on, but it does serve an important purpose. You know, normally with terrariums and enclosed environments, this isn't a fully enclosed. There are vents around the side. We'll get to that in a second. But one of the advantages to having it that way is that you get this crystal clear glass without, or acrylic or whatever, you get a transparent viewing experience without any of the condensation that you would normally see on a terrarium. Kind of the downside of that is the other little critters can get into here, and you could notice that you get those terrarium gnats, or I just noticed there was a spider in here a few minutes ago when I was talking about the tank. So there is a chance for other things to get in because there are holes around the top because the air does exchange a little bit. Also, that does mean you're going to have to add water from time to time because it's not going to be completely enclosed. But that really hasn't been a big deal. I mean, watering your plants isn't hard, and really the most I put in here is maybe once a week or once every other week I'll add a little bit of water. It actually has changed a little bit. Now that it's been drier, it does evaporate a little bit more. So I've never had the mister run out of water. I imagine if I saw a lot of mist too, usually that triggers me to go look and make sure the water table's okay at the bottom. But if it ever were to run out of water in the mister, then what it does is it'll blink. Like once an hour, it kind of fades in and fades out and fades in and fades out. And that's kind of an alarm to let you know that there's no water in there and that it's plugged in. If you didn't want to use it, but you wanted to still store it there, you can just kind of unplug it and leave it there. So when I set this up, I had it on the other side of the room. And when we put up our Christmas tree and stuff, it kind of gets shuffled over here into the corner between these tanks. But it's actually worked really well right here in the window and next to the other aquariums. Nice planted pieces like this really blend in to a natural display that you have going. So if you've got a bunch of tanks and stuff, this really blends in really well with all that. Now, if you are a person that wants to put a pet in this, I have seen it. My local fish store has one of these with a bunch of frogs in it, but I think some poison dart frogs, maybe some other kinds of frogs. They seem to be doing really well. I was worried about keeping the food. I didn't want to like raise food and stuff, so I decided not to put any reptiles or anything in here. I was thinking about maybe some other insects, but for now I'm content with just some dairy cow isopods that I occasionally spot. There's every chance that they're breeding in here, and now eventually we'll see lots of them. But I'm patient and I can wait. And the big trade-off of just like only having to maintain it by adding some RO water once in a while has been great. If you're going to do one of these, I will caution you will need RO water in order to do it correctly. You can buy that in jugs, or you can get a little maker that does it like I have. But that's important because what happens is, if you don't use RO water, one, the mister will not know when it's empty. Like there's something in it. It measures the conductivity of the water somehow to know when it's about to be empty or when it is empty. The other thing it does too is anytime that you've got water that condensates and then dries off, if it's got mineral deposits and stuff in it, it leaves spots all over it. And the RO water, and here's another thing that keeps this glass really clean without a lot of maintenance. That's about it for this tank. I do have another Awaze product that they sent me. I'm going to do an unboxing and setup for that. I don't know if I'll do that next video but I'll do it very soon. And that's something to look forward to. I've got some good news for the 20-gallon dirted tank that I set up. It's actually kind of starting to turn around and looking good without any filter at all. In fact, that's what I originally got this for, was to put on there. So I'm not even sure. I've got another idea for this, and we'll talk about that later. Also wanted to say, Holly Pecks marked her 1-year anniversary of when she walked away from her job and she started doing art full time. She's done some amazing stuff. I had her do 10 fish for me, and I've been slowly adding them to the Teespring store. This is just one of many new designs on my Teespring store. There are links below every single video. I'm also going to include a link to her store. We do not yet have the ability to buy things on there, but that will change soon. And of course, you can send an email if you have an interest in anything you see there. That's all I got for you today. Follow your bliss, keep a clean terrarium or aquarium, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. If you'd like to see the setup for this, you can click right here. If you'd like to see what YouTube has decided is your most favorite thing to see, I would click right here.